Greetings, kindred spirits of the digital realm. I am Lady Onyxicca, a gamer cloaked in the shadows, battling not only the mythical foes within Azeroth, but also a relentless adversary known as chronic illness. After a prolonged hiatus from the gaming realms, a journey marked by the shadows of health issues, I have returned. Once a Mythic Plus healer navigating the tumultuous waves of dungeons, I found myself compelled to forge a new path. The strain of healing in the unpredictable dance of pug groups led me to embrace the role of the Augmentation Evoker, a creature of ebb and might. Today, we delve into the Great Vault, a testament to the battles fought and victories earned from the week before. Heroic raid bosses have fallen, unlocking 3 choices within the vault. Mythic Plus 20 dungeons have also been conquered, earning me 3 slots within the Mythic track. The Season 3 tier set beckons, a symbol of renewed determination. As a gamer battling chronic illness, each triumph in Azeroth becomes a victory against the shadows that seek to ensnare. A reminder to fellow adventurers, the second Catalyst charge awaits this week, allowing the transmutation of Season 3 items into the revered Amirdrasil tier set. And as the shadows of the Great Vault unfold, I may unveil the thought process behind my choices. Now, before we unveil what resides within the Great Vault this week, let us see what my character here needs upgraded first. Hopefully we can manifest it within the vault. I have been running with a 2 set from this season in my chest and shoulder slots. I have also combined this season's tier set with last season's tier set. I am currently wearing pants and gloves from last season's tier set, and that gave me a little bit of a balance between damage and helping other people with my prescience. So I would ideally want to replace something that is not already in a slot that has this season's tier. So let's hope that we do not manifest shoulders or HSBs. Instead, it would highly benefit my character, Augstarian, if the Great Vault blessed me with some tier gloves instead, which would mean that I would have to break the 2 set from last season. I don't really care for tier pants to drop right now because according to a few sources, I will show you which ones exactly. The best in slot pants are the crafted allied leggards of Sansuk Khan. So those are the ones that I would love to have crafted perhaps this week if I can afford it. My plan is to use a catalyst on my headpiece here because I did a Everbloom last week. I can transform this into a tier piece right now if I really wanted to, because it is a very optimal choice to transform into tier due to that socket alone. And let's say that none of the tier pieces that I want to drop actually drop in this vault today. What would be my other wishes? I would definitely love a weapon. It would have to be the staff from Nimue or the mace from Farak. Other than that, it would have to be 1 trinket that I could use. Everything else, I would have to farm in my Dark Heart Thicket runs this week. I've been trying to replace this neck piece for a while. Dark Heart Thicket does have a mastery necklace, which is a good stat for Augmentation Evoker, as well as a ring that has a lot of mastery. So I will continue to farm that place, hopefully, if I have the time and energy. Those are my wishes for what I would like to see in the vault. Let us see if anything was actually manifested. So let's finally open it. Okay, let's go from the first top left and go from there. So there is a weapon, a 473 version of the weapon that I have from Laradar in the raid. Not the worst. There's also an offhand. That is the Biss offhand, by the way, for Augvoker. There's the Nimue staff that I was just talking about. Excellent. That is quite the heroic raid panel. I have my eye on that staff for now. Let's see what else we have here. This is fascinating. We have the Bis boots from Darkheart Thicket, the one that I am wearing currently, but on a higher item level. And we have a 483 helmet that would have to turn into tier. I'm not sure if I will pick that just yet, even though it is in the myth track. So we will see. And finally, we have Band of Twisted Bark. The ring isn't a really bad choice as it still has some mastery, but I don't know if I want to choose that, simply because we do have some good contenders here, namely this weapon, the staff, and perhaps the helmet. So if you are not aware, usually on any other DPS spec in this game, there exist raid bots or simcraft to help you decide on any gear upgrades. Unfortunately, that is not available for Augmentation Augvoker. The raid bots tool simply does not work for this spec, so what do we have available instead? I'm glad you asked. Years ago, I heard about a tool called Ask Mr. Robot. This was a while ago. I started using this a lot back in BFA. It was quite decent. And thankfully, the devs of this tool have included augmentation as an option. It has plenty of optimizers to help you in your decision making. As you can see, we'll go from the top. So there is a best in bags option, there's an upgrade finder, worst in bags, and best in slots. So there are plenty of ways for you to see what are the best equipment upgrades for your spec. So what you do need to do before you use this tool online is to download the Ask Mr. Robot add-on, and then what it does is give you basically a script similar to Simcraft, and you copy that, you go back to the site, and if you would like to use the optimizers on the site, and just import from add-on here. Make sure you have the correct spec selected, and make sure you're over here in step 1 to pick a gearing strategy. I will choose Mythic Plus. You can choose rating as well. Everything on default seems to be good. Like, it allows you to select gem crafted quality, things like that. Once you press find best in bags, that'll tell you what is best in bags, but we don't want to use that just yet, because we are in the Great Vault right now and we would like to see what we want in the Great Vault first. So we go down here to the upgrade finder instead, and it shows you the list of items that are available in your vault. You can see we have the Dreambinder staff, 483 headpiece. So now over here we want to make sure that we include Catalyst, because we want to see if any of these items would turn to tier, if it's worth taking that item over anything else. But also keep in mind that you have to account for the items that you're already equipping as well. Now we go ahead and click on find upgrades. So as I expected, the tool says that the headpiece is the best item to choose within the vault, because if you turn it into tier, it'll give you the most benefit. The headpiece for Augvoker, so it says it's about 12% increase. The second best would be the Dreambinder staff from Nimue. It is about a 7% increase. And third is the finger from Darkheart Thicket. So these are all items that are good upgrades, but the problem is, which one do we choose? I'm definitely eyeing that staff for sure. Comparing it to the best in bags optimizer, we'll run that real quick for Mythic Plus. This is without accounting for the vault, which is something that I haven't figured out how to get around, because with raid bots, for instance, you can account for the Great Vault at the same time within the same optimizer, but I seem to have to separate the two steps here. So instead, what I do is go back to Upgrade Finder and click on the Catalyst. Let's think about it a little bit. Let's say I want to catalyze my helmet into a 483 piece, right? from 470 to 483. And then it'll catalyze into the Evoker tier set bonus. Well, let's go back here and keep that in mind, that 483 hero. Let's select the 483 Aspects Crest option here. And now it gives us a bunch of options that we can catalyze. I have a lot of headpieces that dropped last week, so it's just telling me to, hey, if you upgrade this to 483, these two options, both of them with the prismatic socket, give me the same percentage increase. 13%, 13%. The one without a socket only gives me a 12.16% increase. This one has no socket. And anything else here that can be catalyzed will give me the appropriate percentage increase as well, such as these hands that I can catalyze. They will turn into the new tier and give me 11.73% from the previous gear that I'm equipping. So with this in mind, let's take the top. Well, actually, any of these, to be fair, it doesn't matter whichever one you want. But the 470 to the 483, it will be costing fewer resources, so I'll just be using the one from 470. I'll use this one. The 13% is the percentage I want to keep in mind, and then go back to here and the Great Vault, and you can see here that 13% is higher than 12.44%. So I feel like the headpiece that I have currently is a better choice already. So do I want to take the staff instead? Well, with the hero track, it will allow me to upgrade it to 483. So I'm actually looking at a 483 weapon. So I think I'm going to choose the 483 weapon. So based on the little evaluation that I've done, comparing the upgrade finder suggestions, this one is a little bit misleading. I would say that the staff is a better upgrade, considering that the catalyst headpiece is a better upgrade instead of the helmet that was suggested earlier. So before I make my final decision, let's review the Great Vault options one last time. The Laradar's Moonblade is a no. Trickster's Captivating Chime offhand, although it is Biss, it is a no. Dreambinder Loom of the Great Cycle, beautiful staff, seems to be a resounding yes. Everything else, although very good upgrades, I will have to pass up on at the moment. So you may select only one reward from the Great Vault, and this is the one I will proudly say yes to. Thank you very much. Now let Augvoker equip his new weapon. Beautiful, isn't it? I will be saving it as my new set here, and I will indeed see if I can catalyze the helmet that I'm currently wearing and then upgrade that to 483 as well. The reason why the helmet is a good choice to catalyze is because the helmet drops from Tendril, which is the second to last boss in the raid, and sometimes it is not guaranteed that we will reach that boss. Especially on Heroic or Mythic. Not everyone is capable of reaching that boss as a group, and especially pugs. I did end up pugging a few bosses in Heroic the other day. I have a few videos posted if you're curious. I am still new at this augmentation thing, and sometimes with pugs it is a little bit difficult to distinguish who are the best targets for me to buff, so I end up just buffing whoever. But if it turns out that you wipe, at least you can look at the details and see if any of the top targets have a pattern of being on top, and that's how you figure what your best targets for prescience are. Now that the Great Vault's decision has been made, let's see what Ask Mr. Robot has more to offer. If you haven't seen, there is a tool called Worsted Bags. So as the name suggests, it basically tells you whatever is in your bags. Maybe you want to make some gold. This is a way to get rid of and make some room in your bag. And then we click this and it'll say probably junk, but I'll at the same time make sure you see if it's bind on equip. You might make more gold than just like selling it off to a vendor. So that'll go to the auction house. And something silly here is that the optimizer is telling me to scrap my main hand item level 66 dagger, But I will not do that because I keep a dagger in my bag simply because I like to do transmog photo shoots, and my character is made to resemble Astarion from Baldur's Gate 3, and he does have a dagger in that game, so sometimes I want to wear a dagger as well. But I have to always remind myself to equip the new staff now. And everything else, of course, it tells you to throw away, but I feel like it's a little bit of a redundant tool, but sometimes you never know. Maybe some of you would find it beneficial as well. And last but not least, we have Best in Slot Optimizer. You can customize your best items based on things like team composition, gems, special items, secondary stats, spec options, fight options. Like, do you want to have, how many number of targets do you want? You have 5, you got all kinds of targets here. You have blood lost in a group, things like that. There's so many things to explore here. Another thing is that we have this little pie chart to play with. I forgot that you can't see it because my picture is in the way. Well, I can move the picture, no problem. We have a pie chart here at the bottom of the screen, and it allows you to change your stats that you want to target. For instance, as an augmentation evoker, my best secondary stat is mastery, so I will make that slice the largest. And as for the others, haste and crit seem to be equal in my opinion, with verse being last in line. So this is a little bit arbitrary, but as long as mastery is the highest and verse is the lowest, this will be the most ideal stat weight for augmentation, for instance. And depending on your spec, you might know better what to choose. I will go to Wowhead and confirm what those stat weights are. Best stats for augmentation evoker. Item level is king because main stat is very, very good, but in terms of secondary, it'll be mastery, then haste, then crit, then versatility. So it really depends. Like over here, it is equal. You can definitely switch these up a little bit, and let's just say we go with this, for instance. And at the bottom, little tool here to allow you to choose how aggressive do you want to be. For example, drop item level to get closer to your secondary allocation. So do you want to favor item level over secondary? So I usually just keep it balanced, but it's up to you. So once we run this, it'll tell you a lot of things what to do here. So again, the BIS tool here, the Best in Slot Optimizer, tells you exactly where to go to target your best items possible. At least according to this tool, that is what is calculating based on your preferences. So for instance, if you wanted that staff, you would have to get the gnarl root staff on Mythic, which is likely, you know, I think that being the first boss, it's likely possible to get it. And then for the headpiece, of course, the Mythic tier set, the necklace will be from Tendril, shoulders, things like that. And funnily enough, it shows that the best in slot pants are the pants from the Council of Dreams with some haste and some high mastery. It is not the tier set though, so this seems to be what is replacing the crafted legs. And then, for example, the best trinkets, we haven't really discussed much about trinkets. The best in slot trinkets according to the stats and everything else, if everything is accurate. So Pip's Emerald Friendship badge, and then the Augury of the Primal Flame from Farak. Those are the trinkets that are best in slot. And interestingly, it's still accounting for crafted gear as well. For instance, the best in slot ring is in fact a signet of Titanic Insight, which is something that I have already crafted. And the best in slot waist is the one that I'm currently wearing as well, according to this tool again. Sometimes these things will not reflect what is suggested in Wowhead, for instance. So we can go back here to Wowhead and look at gear. So let me just do this for a moment. Let me put these together side by side and compare them. So for, let's say, the main hand, it says Vakash, the Shadowed Inferno, that is the best main hand according to Wowhead. And offhand is Tricksters. We don't really even have a suggestion for an offhand, which is a little interesting. But we do have the headpiece be the same. The necklace is the same as well. Eye of Rising Flame, confirmed. And then shoulder piece, the Timeless Sandbrace, that's the shoulder. The cloak, we have Voice of Silent Star, and instead it's a Smolderon cloak. Let's see why. Because of the critical strike and the higher mastery. And then the cloak here is a high crit, low haste, and that is actually from Scale Commander. Okay, which is a little bit interesting that it's suggesting something for the previous tier. It does have the effect of whenever nearby allies take damage, the voice has a chance to beckon you, stealing 132 of the 4 nearest allies' lowest secondary stat and giving you the stolen amount plus 1979 of your highest secondary stat. So it's a little bit of an interesting cloak. And the chest piece is the same on both sides, so is the gloves. And Wowhead suggests the Forlorn Leaf clasp from Nullroot as the belt, while Ask Mr. Robot suggests the one that I currently have from Black Rook Hold. Crit and Mastery on the one that I currently have, Crit and Haste on the one on Wowhead. But then again, it's because it's accounting for the mastery. It's basically based on what I put on the pie chart. If I really need that much more mastery, it's going to favor mastery. If I make mastery slightly less than what I had it set to, it's probably going to suggest something similar to what the Wowhead article does. So that's a little something to account for. And then going down again, it has the Council of Dreams leggings with the haste and high mastery. It seems that the best legs are from Arwen as well. Look at that. Both Wowhead and Ask Mr. Robot agree on that. And then we have Cleats of the Savage Claw, that is from Council, with crit and high haste. Feet, same thing here. Both agree. Look at that. And then the Band of Burning Thorns, they also have that in common. Finally, let's look at the trinkets. According to Wowhead, the best in slot trinkets for Augmentation Evoker are Belor, Relos, the Suncaller, that is the one with the int, and then the fire damage. Split between all enemies and a bunch of fire damage to you over 12 seconds. So it's kind of a kiss curse here. And then the Nimwe's Unraveling Spindle, which is also intellect, and it's an unused channel dealing nature damage, a lot of nature damage, 4,000. I noticed that my webcam is in the way again, so I apologize, but you have to take my word for what it says. You can also just go online and click on these websites to see for yourself what I'm talking about. But as I was saying, the trinket that is suggested is Belor, Relos, the Suncaller, and Nimwe's Unraveling Spindle. And that is the one that is an on-use channel that does 433,000 nature damage. That's on Mythic over 3 seconds and grants you 3,300 mastery for 18 seconds. And that is completely an Augmentation Evoker trinket. That mastery alone is what is super helpful. And that is for the Wowhead. Best in slot, Ask Mr. Robot. We have the Augury of the Primal Flame. That is the Critical Strike trinket from Farak the Blazing, which causes your critical strikes to deal 50% additional damage as fire split between nearby enemies. The flame may deal 252 total damage before fading. So that the fact that it says a low chance to grant annihilating flame for 20 seconds, I feel like I would probably pick an on-use trinket, maybe, such as the Nimwe's trinket, or the Balefire branch from Waycrest Manor. That as well is something similar to Nimwe's, because it's a little bit backwards where it's a high mastery and the on-use gives you high main stat, high intellect, whereas Nimwe's trinket gives you intellect, flat intellect, and on-use mastery and some damage. And finally, the last trinket that is suggested on Ask Mr. Robot is Hips Emerald Friendship Badge because of the more secondary stat bonuses that it provides. It's basically a file of elemental chaos where the stats kind of change. In my opinion, that's something that I can connect it to. So that was me sharing a little bit about Ask Mr. Robot as a potential tool for any Augvokers or anyone else out there looking for suggestions on their gear. So feel free to check that out. I will have any links that I've been using in the description, so feel free to check those out. Thank you for joining me on revealing what the Great Vault has in store this week. May your own journeys be filled with triumphs, both in and out of the gaming realm. Until we meet again, stay strong, fellow adventurers. Goodbye.